As we first reported yesterday, New Brunswick's two energy commissioners are taking a strong stand against electrical heating. They are even proposing a new cost structure which would penalize high power users. And this could affect homeowners with baseboard heating. And we know about 60% of New Brunswick homeowners have baseboard heating. For more on this, I'm joined by Commissioner Jeannot Volpe. Mr. Volpe, you have said that a lot of people wanted these changes. Who was this coming from?
Well, I would say we've probably heard it all around the province, and the comment was made as for why is it that the structure of the rate structure doesn't reflect the cost of production, which means if you consume more, it need more power plants somewhere at peak time to produce your power. But also the first block should be large enough to cover all the basic need, I would say, for New Brunswickers. We don't want to penalize the low income or the rate structure should be that the first block, which is enough and then what you would need, but also those who use more than that first block should pay the cost of that production. And this is what we've heard all around the province. So that cost will be determined by the Energy and Utility Board based on the cost of production.
Well, I'm also wondering how this would affect a family of 5 living all in one house versus a bunch of single people who are taking up energy. You wouldn't want to penalize the family of 5, would you?
Not at all, and that's why we're saying what's there now. It's also a way to say in the future, when you look at the first block, you could say an example. If it's 2,000 kilowatt of power that you're using on average per month, it's the average. Let's use it as a base. Then if you put a second block, it's also an incentive to try to reduce your consumption. If there's no incentive, before what we had as a structure, rate structure in NB Power was exactly the opposite. So the more you use, the less it costs. It doesn't reflect the cost of production because the more it costs. So it was a way to promote almost using more power, even though it's costing a lot more to all New Brunswickers. So what we're saying, everyone should be part of it. So it's an incentive also to reduce the consumption, your own consumption. But the first block should be large enough to cover the average New Brunswickers.
So just so I can clarify, this could be tailored to each individual home. If this is what your average consumption is, this particular home, then the threshold would not kick in.
I would not go back as a for individual home. I would say on average in New Brunswick, what is it that an average family would consume as power and use it as a block? Let's say it's 2,000. If it's 2,000 kilowatt hour that you use on average per month, all those using more, whatever extra, you pay that price plus a little premium because that extra power costs a little more to produce at NB Power. It's just to reflect the real cost of production.
Now, how would this compare to how big industrial users are using electricity?
Big industrial user, the big difference is that that's a flat consumption. They don't have peak up and down in the morning. Usually they consume 24 hours a day, always the same rate. So the NB Power knows that one plant is running. If there's one plant running for big business, it's always running. As for residential, you've got those peaks in the morning and the afternoon, and especially in the winter time when it's minus 35 and it's windy, it's a major peak, which means you need to start 2 or more turbine over and above the regular consumption. Those turbines cost a lot of money, and last year, Coulson Cove, as an example, run only for 10 days, but we've got to pay the full cost for the full year, and it's on your rate. So if we could shave some of those peaks, it would be a bonus for everyone in the province. So what we're saying is that we're proposing all kinds of options, but one option is reduce your consumption. The other one is move to something else. So there's different initiatives that we've heard around the province, and they are reflected in our recommendations.
And finally, and I know you've been asked before, but do you see a government being able to sell this idea to everybody who's struggling with high energy costs, high food costs, and all the other inflation pressures we're feeling?
We don't want a higher cost. We want a lower cost, and that's why we're proposing this one here. By everyone doing their share, if in the future, if we need one less generation station in New Brunswick, or if we can sell that power to somebody else, the burden will not have to be paid by ratepayers. So it should be a benefit for them, not a cost. So I'm not looking at it as a cost. I'm looking at it as a way to reduce the overall cost of producing power in New Brunswick, which should be reflected in what New Brunswickers were asking, which is reliable, low-cost energy. To be able to have low cost, we need to manage our load.
Mr. Volpe, I appreciate your time today.
You're very welcome.